Welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm your host, Tristen Stawicki. Think of me as your pragmatic shaman bestie. Join in with other high-vibe, lovely people as I unravel spiritual ideas to help create change and growth in your life. I cover a variety of spiritual topics, sharing knowledge to meet you wherever you are in your journey. As a shaman, astrologer, and human design reader, I help you understand how to make informed decisions and incorporate different modalities using discernment and your own intuition. Today, you will gain powerful shamanic healing tools you can use to incorporate spiritual practices in non-traditional ways. Whether you're just beginning or need a knowledgeable best friend with the next phase of your journey, I'm here to help. Stay tuned. Musings and Modalities starts now. Hey everyone, and welcome to Musings and Modalities. I'm Tristen Stawicki, your pragmatic shaman bestie, and for the next 30 minutes, we'll be diving into the topic of guides. I'll cover how to work with guides, building connections with them, and the different type of guides that work with you. Towards the end of the episode, I'll also share some resources that I really love to use as you're building your relationships with guides and what offerings are most effective for getting the help you need. So to kick us off, what are guides? So a spiritual guide is a being that is offering help, assistance, or guidance to you. Some act as a kind of cosmic navigation system to help you on your path by providing suggestions on the way to your goal or to a specific destination. Others act as spiritual besties and work with you long term, and some pop by for a session or a specific time in your life. Some are human, or they have a human appearance, or have had a human experience previously, and others may be fairies, angels, dragons, mermaids, sirens, animals, and pets. Some may be well-known deities like Isis or Artemis, religious figures like Mother Mary or Archangelic Michael, or even completely unknown to you. Ultimately, guides do vary greatly from person to person and change throughout your lifetime. So why connect with guides, right? What are they actually helping with? How are they supporting you? So these beings are helpers that we can turn into times of need, right? We can turn to when we feel lost. If you're someone who prays, anytime you would typically think of praying, you could open the door to communication with your spirit guides. Can you rely on yourself only? Sure, right? But why? Relying on only yourself really makes this life a lot harder of a journey and a more challenging experience. Life is truly already enough of a struggle. And so being a cosmic being in a human body is already giving you enough challenges. So I recommend don't add to it. Reach out to your guides. Guides are also really helpful when you're between two choices, you're making big life-changing decisions. They can really help validate either your choices or your decisions and provide encouragement throughout kind of the changes of your life. So our guides are beings that may or may not be human, right? And they could have different forms and backgrounds. And I want to dive into the types of guides that we all have. So first we have ancestor guides, which offer spiritual guidance and may be related to you genetically. They may have a cosmic connection to your lineage, or they may actually be from your spiritual lineage. This can include past loved ones, frequently genetic ancestors that have several greats in front of them, right? So they're maybe not ancestors from this lifetime, but many, kind of you're a descendant that there was like a lot of greats in front of the connection that you have to them. And you may not have any knowledge or close ties to these ancestors, right? These are the type of guides that really help with generational trauma, and they may be part of your core team that you work with as you uncover your spiritual gifts and continue on your healing journey. I love working with ancestor guides, especially on holidays, and when I'm learning new energy modalities. They're incredibly helpful then. I call upon these guides when I'm working with the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies, especially if I need to rewrite the patterns and experiences of the past for myself or for a client. When I'm learning something new, I call upon these guides to share with me why I'm drawn to a specific subject and what I'm healing or working to heal. Now, with ancestors, I do want to acknowledge there could be worry or concerns. If you're someone that has no contact with your family in this lifetime, or if you have a very tumultuous kind of relationship with them, It may be that your ancestor guides do not include any people with genetic connections to you kind of currently, or it's a genetic connection that's very much one from the past, so like hundreds of years ago. If the ancestor isn't a high vibrational energy, I would not work with them, as the experience of working with your guide should always be for your best and highest good. And it's okay if you don't have any genetic guides or you have very limited kind of genetic guides that you connect with, as you can still have deep kind of familial feelings and deep familial ties to your guides that transcends beyond a blood connection to more of a cosmic one. You may also have had guides that were your ancestors in other lives, especially if the family you were born into had a much higher vibration than the one that you chose in this timeline. So I personally work pretty infrequently with my genetic lineage, and I have a much deeper relationship with my ancestors from other past lives and my cosmic lineage. I'm not someone that can claim to come from a long line of healers or had magic in my house growing up, and that absolutely has no bearing on my gifts or nor has it hindered my progress, as many different types of guides have stepped up to fill that gap. So I just want to kind of help with any fears you may have with that. Now, the next group is very, very close to me, and I love working with them, and that is angels. So this group of angels, right, is broken down into kind of your general all-purpose angel. You have your archangels, and then you have your guardian angels. And I see angels as above any religion. And being a religious in any capacity is not a requirement at all to work with angels. So you can really think of them as high vibrational beings with wings, which are so cool, and they have the most beautiful and pure energy. Angels are pure love, and they're here to help provide nudges and kind of trigger your intuition. Archangels are who I call on when cutting cords, when I need help in session, and with big healing work. Archangels have specialties and are well documented in what they can help with. So, for instance, when I need a guiding light energy in my life, or if a storm has literally knocked out the electricity, I call upon Archangel Uriel, who comes in with his torch to light the way and bring the sunshine back in. When I need to speak my truth with a strong voice and an integrity, I ask for Archangel Gabriel. In sessions, I work with Archangel Metatron to help balance and cleanse the chakras. I also ask Archangel Michael to come into heavy sessions and help transform big energy shifts, especially if someone has ties to past lifetimes that we're trying to clear. So, archangels for me are never not on speed dial, right? I'm calling upon and communicating with them several times a day. And though I work with archangels for myself and for my clients, my guardian angel is just for me. So they were assigned to me when I chose to come back to Earth, and they work with me specifically as I uncover my soul's purpose and work towards enlightenment. You also have your own guardian angel whose sole purpose is to help you and protect you in this lifetime. And for our next group, we have star beings or galactic beings. These guides help humanity and really step forward to work with those who are healers or who are deep in their healing journey. As we ascend, more star beings step forward to help us in raising humanity's vibration and the vibration of the earth overall. Pleiadians are examples of this, and I love learning from them as they are such gentle greeters of star beings and have a lovely cosmic energy filled with light and expansiveness. If you want to, start working with star beings more, I really recommend spending time with the night sky, watching as the day transitions from dusk to twilight to deep, deep nighttime skies, and really sitting with the expansive energy, really sitting with the opportunity that the night sky gives us. And for our next group, we have Ascended Masters or Divine Masters. And these are very special guides that lived on Earth as humans and have had such a profound impact on humanity that they ascended to the highest levels possible. So they have lived it, right? They know the joys and the hardships of being human and are some of the most helpful guides that I adore working with. Melchizedek, Mother Mary, Kuan Yin, and many others fall into this group. I frequently work with Melchizedek as like a personal guide, and I'm so grateful for his wisdom and magic. Mother Mary is such a beautiful, gentle energy to work with, especially if you're working or kind of sending prayers for children in any way. And again, though Mother Mary is a religious figure, that when I'm working with ascended masters or divine masters or archangels, that doesn't come into it for me whatsoever. It's kind of like meeting this guide outside of any human perception of them to form your own relationship. So it's really what I encourage you to do here too. And I would say most clients' favorite, and one of my also favorites to work with, is our next guides, which are animal spirit guides. And they are also called power animals or totem animals. Animal guides frequently show up in the physical world and while journeying. So each animal has a specific message and can offer support, healing, inspiration, protection, or allow you to channel some of their attributes. For instance, how can I be as persistent as a mosquito when the situation calls for it? How can I be brave and stand my ground as the black bear does? When I last had anesthesia for a dental procedure, I had actually a beautiful experience through that where several animal guides showed up for me and offered their support. Um, that was really, really lovely, even though obviously that's not a fun experience to go through, and really showed me how supported I am, which was great. Animal guides also work with me while I'm dreaming and act as a sort of warning system for the energy or challenges that are up ahead. To really spend time with animal guides, I recommend being outside. I recommend kind of seeing what animals are near your house, paying attention to what animals you see on journeys. So if you're on a car trip or anything like that, I also like to see the patterns that come. So, turkey vulture is one of my all-time favorite animals. They are an incredible guide, not only in the shamanic tradition, but they're just cool animals overall. And so it's been really great to continue to develop my experience with them before shamanic training, after shamanic training. In a very realistic way, as they had such a profound impact on kind of the um, creation of the airplane, right? And the creation of being able to fly, which is really, really cool and a cool story to kind of look up if you have the time. For our next group, we have gods and goddesses. And this is the final group that I'll touch on today. These spiritual beings are honored as being divine across traditions, across cultures and communities. These gods and goddesses give a face and personality to divine source and life force energy. Examples of these include Horus, Isis, Ganesh, Freya, Thoth, Hecate, and many, many other incredible beings. When life is incredibly hard or challenging and I need some badass energy, I call upon the gods and goddesses. And like archangels, there are specific reasons why you'd work with Isis versus Hecate. Like I love working with Hecate, especially in session, when I'm helping shift someone out of some kind of poor relationship cycles or just cycles that they're tired of being in, especially with toxic masculine energy. And ISIS has been a great resource to call upon for cord cutting, especially if someone does have some religious trauma and perhaps doesn't feel comfortable with the energy of Archangel Michael. As I wrap up this section on the different types of guides, I want to acknowledge that what I've covered is not an exhaustive list by any means, right? But I really hope this information has given you some tangible examples of guides that you and every single person has. Any fears that you aren't supported or you don't have cool enough guides is just not true. You have a whole bunch of incredible supportive beings that have your back. So now that you know the types of guides you have, how do they communicate with you? Where are they, right? Of course, they're here and supporting you, but like on a daily basis, like how can you feel them? How can you get to know them? And there are many ways the guides communicate. And so I've put together a list of the 5 most common ways and the most noticeable ways that are really easy, especially if this is kind of new to you. So the first way is through feelings. These feelings could be feeling safe, secure, comforted. They could be more maternal or paternal in nature. Unconditional love is such a beautiful feeling that has come through guides while clients are in challenging sessions or in sessions that really dive into traumatic experiences. And that's so supportive, right? Because if you are almost, I don't want to say reliving or re-experiencing the trauma, but some of those emotions and feelings come up, having that unconditional love or that safe feeling kind of around you is really helpful as you move through those feelings and experiences to ultimately heal them. The second way is through sensations. Now, a common one, right, is temperature changes from hot to cold. I've also experienced goosebumps. My back lights up with awareness, as does the back of my neck. My clients have they felt like hands on their shoulders or a comforting presence next to them or behind them. And I want to be really clear as I go through this list that none of these experiences should be scary. It should at most feel a little overwhelming to experience pure love or safety, especially if that's unfamiliar to you. But this is all done with the intention to help. So I don't want any fear responses or worry to come through as you kind of hear those physical sensations that could happen. For our third item, it could be images or visual experiences. So, seeing different colors is incredibly common, especially the colors of the chakra system, like reds, blues, oranges, purples, greens, yellows, things like that. You may also see flickers of light or movement from the corner of your eye. Some people, especially if they have a wide open third eye, actually see the guides and have beautiful experiences with them and see them either in a human form or another form, which is very, very cool. And you might also have a journey, right, where they come to you or appear to you, and you kind of see that in your mind's eye as well. Next, there could be auditory communication or noise cues. This could be a high pitch in one ear and both ears. For me, I get a very specific pitch in my left ear, and that's when I know it's time for me to shut up, honestly, that I need to listen, I need to look. It's that kind of pay attention cue that my guides let me know. Other times, I'll actually hear a guide speaking or kind of hear their voice, which is really, really cool. And that's an experience clients have as well. And so it kind of can be across the board, which is great. And finally, you can see this through specific signs. And these signs could be animals showing up in your yard, repeated numbers, words, some sort of meaning that's really individual and personal to you. And because this is such an individual experience, when you try to share a sign with other people, it's easy to be overlooked or kind of dismissed by others. Um, so typically signs are things that you see either without anyone else around or they come up frequently enough that it kind of removes any doubt. One of my favorite signs that I get are mushroom circles in my yard. Fairies, though I did not talk about them today, are, a core kind of guide for me. And so seeing mushroom circles, especially where I have fire ceremony, is such a beautiful and meaningful experience. You can also ask for specific signs. Just be kind of open to how that presents itself for many people. It could be a ladybug, it could be specific numbers or a word, something that's core to you. That doesn't mean it's going to necessarily show up in your yard, though it could. It could be something you see on social media, it could be something that someone texts you. Be open to however you receive that sign and keep your eyes peeled for it. So let's dive into ways to really build your relationship with guides and have that open communication. As I mentioned, some guides are here for the long haul, and others are more infrequent or brief interactions. The guides that have kind of a less frequent interaction or a kind of brief relationship are typically the ones that are really high impact, which is kind of interesting. And when they show up, it's going to have lasting effects on your life or journey, or they could come by just once, and really complete kind of working with you in that experience. Regardless of the time frame or the impact, we want to honor all of the guides and their journey um, that they have with you. So first, I would really think about creating an altar space to open up that communication with your guides. Now, this space could be a mantle, it could be on top of a dresser. You don't have to have it be huge or take up a ton of room. A shelf on a bookcase is one of my favorite places because it's kind of a living embodiment of what a bookcase should be. This can include flowers or crystals, photographs. I have several altars in my house, and the special one for my guides is actually behind me. So it's actually the wall that's directly behind me that I have that's a living representation of the guides that are working with me. I have visual representations of angels. I have specific crystals that work with fairies. I have symbols that are meaningful to me on my journey. And so this is updated. Sometimes it depends. It's more cyclical when it's updated. Um, and it's been really, really lovely to always have that visual reminder in my sessions and when recording this podcast that I'm supported and that I'm on my path. You can also kind of next ask your guides for help, right? And this is something you should frequently kind of add into your day. And this can be out loud or through a pen and paper, whatever you feel most comfortable with. Sometimes I'll ask for a specific guide's guidance, but most of the time I kind of let them self-manage a little bit, right? And as they know amongst them who might be best to offer assistance in this moment. An easy framework for an ask is, thank you guides for working with me and helping me on this journey. I ask for your assistance with blank for my highest and best good. In the ask, you can also be as specific as you feel called, right? I really try to balance specificity with allowing magic and the unknown future to kind of unravel as it needs to. I also really try to keep track of what I'm asking for. So even if I ask for things aloud, I try to jot them down because sometimes an ask can take time, right? And so when you are asking for something and maybe 3 months later it comes to fruition or it takes several weeks, I really want to acknowledge kind of and reflect on all the things that have taken place from the ask to when that ask is being delivered, because typically there are lots of signs and affirmations and different things from guides that have kind of proven that they're working on it or kind of really validate the experience of working with them, which is very, very cool. It's really important for number three to make space for stillness and to receive. This is not a step that should be overlooked. I know that time is precious, and I've talked in previous episodes about the importance of being still in order to make space for messages. Deep listening needs silence, and there isn't a substitute for being in a quiet, reflective state. I also recommend being alone for this, just so you can really kind of sink into a meditative state, sink into a place where you're receptive. Um, and I really allow the guides to communicate with me in whatever method they choose. So I mentioned, sometimes I'll hear them, sometimes I'll see them, sometimes I'll feel them. And I let them kind of communicate as they need to. For number four, I really want to acknowledge and celebrate their differences. Some guides will tell you their name, some won't. Or they'll give you kind of like a weird other name or a nickname to call them. Some are loud as hell, right? Some are very, very quiet. Like just like people that you meet in your everyday life, there's a variety. Most guides do fall in the in-between, and ultimately they try to match what you need. If you are someone that needs to be kind of shown signs repeatedly or kind of, have them be very, very evident, your guides will really match that energy and reflect that. I'm someone that I like kind of gentle reassurances, gentle nudges. I, ultimately try not to have things completely fall apart if it can be helped and try to acknowledge signs and do the work along the way. But that's just my energy and works best for me. And finally, we want to honor what they will and won't help you with. Some guides do have specialties that they help you with. I had different guides for my journey with shamanism than I did when learning Reiki or learning astrology. And as you get to know your guides, you'll learn which ones do not want to be bothered with things like finding you a parking space or with the small ask. Some of my guides I only reach out to with the big serious stuff, as that's a boundary that they have set and the expectation in the relationship that we have. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't ask for help with those small things, right? I'm communicating constantly with my guides, but I really want to acknowledge and have awareness that I don't ask deity guides or gods and goddesses or archangels for things like a traffic light change, right? I really try to think about who I'm asking and if they're best suited for the job to help with. So, what offerings are appropriate for guides? And these offerings or gifts are really physical acknowledgments for their help that extend beyond a thank you. So, offerings can include honey, flowers, things of nature, so seashells, pine cones, corn, rose petals. It could be tobacco. Sweet treats are typically appreciated. It could be your voice, your song, which could be, just kind of made up on the spot, your attention. Really, we try to do kind of physical acknowledgments though, but those are also important, and alcohol. And you can ask your guides what they would prefer, or you can use your pendulum to narrow down what offering you should give. Now, gentle reminder for using a pendulum. These are yes or no questions, right? So, an example would be, would you like flowers as an offering? Yes. Would you like sunflowers as an offering? Would you like roses as an offering? Would you like pink roses as an offering, right? If you can, you really want to drill down into the specifics to make sure the guides are pleased. You can also search online, especially if you're working with a well-known or documented guide. Alcohol is frequently welcome, especially red wine, whiskey, or vodka. Alcohol is kind of a timeless experience that if your guide was human at any point in the past, they likely experienced and is familiar to them. When offering alcohol, I do try to use higher quality spirits or at least mid-tier as an offering. I try not to cheap out on offerings, mostly because I want the highest vibration kind of possible when I'm gifting someone something. And so your intention overall, despite kind of, what you're offering is to be grateful, um, and to really show your thanks in a physical way. I either use the altars in my home or place the offerings there, or I create a beautiful altar space outside. When I do that, I kind of have a frame that I'll make with sticks, and I'll use flowers and pine cones and other things in my yard. And then I'll include the offerings as part of the presentation. I do not consume the offerings, and I give them to the earth after leaving them outside for a while. I check with my pendulum, or I just kind of see from an intuition place, like, should that be a few hours? Should that be a few days? Um, I really want you to be mindful of wildlife and to be kind to the earth and choosing your offerings. I love seeing insects or slugs and butterflies receiving the offerings. I've also had to give offerings before a guide would work with me. So when I visited Scotland this past spring, an incredible land guardian came through and asked for an offering of listening and a physical offering of heavy cream, small pieces of bread, and jam, and for that to be placed in a specific spot. In exchange, they agreed to work with me on land clearings and to build my connection to Scotland. And what a precious gift, right? I'm so honored and grateful for that profound experience and relationship. So for my BFFs only tip, I love seeing spiritual tools like oracle decks and books to connect with guides. We've only covered kind of the most common types of guides and a few examples of each one. There are so many more guides that I'm able to cover in this format. So a few of the resources are, I love using the Divine Masters deck from Kyle Gray. This is really helpful. As you're working through maybe unlearning or working through any religious trauma, I found angel prayers a really beautiful way to kind of have your own connection to angels without a religious, connotation to it. Also by Kyle Gray. If you are trying to understand what spirit animals are kind of saying to you and their messages, Animal Spirit Guides is great, which is by Stephen Farmer. And a classic one that I'm sure most people know about, but I highly recommend is Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson. What's cool about this is she really goes into ways you can ask for signs and how to receive them. Really, really helpful. We have covered so much today. So we talked about different types of guides, how to connect with them, practicing stillness, And I really hope this was helpful as you continue to develop your relationship with your guides. Thank you so much for watching Musings and Modalities with me, your pragmatic shaman bestie. Tune in the second and fourth Mondays of each month at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for more fabulous episodes. If you have questions about your guides and how to connect with your team specifically, you can book a session with me at musingsandmodalities.com. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Musings and Modalities with me, Tristen, your pragmatic shaman bestie. For more powerful healing tools, join me every second and fourth Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. I cover a variety of topics to meet you wherever you are at on your spiritual journey. Learn techniques to work with pendulums, past life healing, astrology, and more. Please share the show and subscribe for more guidance from your pragmatic shaman bestie at musingsandmodalities.com.